I cannot speak to you tonight about Vietnam without paying a very personal tribute to the men who have carried the battle out there for all of us. The nation owes them its unstinting support while the battle continues, and its enduring gratitude when their service is done.
As I revert back and visualize myself, I didn't have the feeling that I'll make a career of it. It was something that I was required to do because I finished the ROTC program and had committed for at least 2 years of service. Going to Vietnam was something that I was ordered to do, and so I did it. I didn't take any attitude about it. September 65, I was in Vietnam, in an area some 10,000 or so miles away from Florida that I knew nothing about. The first time I fired a weapon was in ROTC summer camp. The first time I flew on a plane was when I was getting ready to go to Vietnam. First time I was on a ship, never on a ship, not even on a boat, was when I was on my way to Vietnam. Having grown up in a small town, Milton was a very small town with, I think we had one red light in the whole city at the time I was there, about 3,200 residents. It was very small and a very humbling environment. We had a lawnmower that I think I even bought it. And I used to go around the city cutting grass, what have you, which was one of my things. And later on, I got a job at a community grocery store, and I was stocking the shelves. And I met a guy who really became an impact on my life. He was a Marine, and my first experience with a Marine was with him. And I learned a lot about doing stuff the right way. I mean, he would get out at night and we'd have to clean up the store, mop it, and he would work with us. And I got good work habits from him, per se. Because my father never talked about his military experience. I knew that he was in the military. He was a sergeant, and he was supply sergeant. He did talk about being a supply sergeant, how he used to deal, trading stuff. He didn't talk about the combat and all that kind of good stuff. Graduated from high school there, T.R. Jackson High School in Milton, Florida. And I just loved math, so I ended up getting a degree in mathematics from FAMU. At FAMU during that time, they had basic ROTC. And so for the first 2 years, you had to take the basic. During my junior year, we went to summer camp in Fort Benning, Georgia. It was very interesting. It was competitive. That was my first time being involved in an integration type situation because FAMU was totally segregated at the time. When I went back for my senior year, I was commissioned as a second lieutenant in field artillery, and I was given the distinction of being a distinguished military graduate, which meant that rather than being a reserve officer, I ended up going in as a regular army officer. Within 10 days after I graduated from FAMU, I was at Fort Benning. I went straight into the unit, but I was fortunate that NCOs took me under their wing and said, we're going to train you how to be a good lieutenant. And they did. How to lay a battery, how to command. I understood the battery. I went to airborne school for 3 months, finished that, went back to the battery. They made me the fire direction officer because I had the training by that time. I got reassigned to first cab. Here I was on my way to Vietnam, which is a place I had not heard of in high school or college. I ended up being a fire observer as my unit assignment. And fire observer is the individual that actually calls field artillery firepower into combat. Within days, we were sent out on missions, what have you, search and destroy type missions where you go out and you go from one hill to the other. Normally, they would carry us out on a helicopter. Third or fourth time we were out, we were ambushed, and the first lieutenant, company commander, took a shot right into his forehead, and he was dead before he hit the ground. And I had never experienced even anyone getting shot, anyone dying. The radio telephone operator, which was right behind him, was also hit with fire immediately. He had a number of grenades on him, smoke grenades that used to mark the LZ if we needed a helicopter to come in for supplies or for medevac. He hit the ground, and we thought that he was really hit just like the company commander for the most part. But what had happened is that the rounds that he had taken hit the grenades, and one of the grenades went up, and I think it was like a red smoke, and he was on the ground just flagging as if he was really hit for the most part. Come to find out that he was not, and he actually died of shock as opposed to a wound from a round hitting him. And so within instance of a few minutes, I had seen two people die, one from a headshot, and which is the thing that affected me right from there. I did not know it. The post-traumatic stress disorder was a situation. What they during that time, they didn't say it was a post-traumatic stress disorder. We were out on another mission with the same company. We were ambushed again. We were pinned down, and I was shot in the leg. Took 2 bullets in my left leg. The radio telephone operator, as soon as he popped that antenna, which sort of expand out, that's when we took rounds into our area. Most people that were wounded ended up back in Germany and back in the States. But as it turned out, I got orders back to Vietnam. They ended up making me an air observer. Not a good job to have because, the Viet Cong and they offered to me, they had a 51 caliber machine gun that they could just about take anything out of the sky. I asked to go back out in the field as a fire observer. I returned from Vietnam and was assigned to Fort Sill, Oklahoma, training troops. Then I moved up to be a battery commander. I was promoted to captain while in the position as a battery commander. I went to a guided missile assistant officer course in Fort Bliss. I came back to Fort Sill. I spent basically a year's time there in the career course. And rather than being assigned to a nice plush position somewhere within the States, I was assigned back to Vietnam. So I go back to Vietnam, and my last name is Sanchez. Guess who they think is coming? A Spanish guy. My name comes from my grandfather that was in the Dominican area in Haiti, that area of the country. He migrated to Florida, and that's where the name comes from in my family. He ended up coming to the United States, and he had some education. Matter of fact, they call him Professor Sanchez because he taught school, and he was a pretty distinguished guy. He always wore a suit. But what happened in the battalion is that the battalion commander decided to relieve a battery commander. So the executive officer came to me and said, the old man want you to take over a battery. I looked at him as if he must be out of his mind. As a captain promotable, thinking that I would be promoted in 2 months, why would I go out in the field some 20 kilometers from the headquarters and take over a captain position of a guy that's been relieved? So I went out to the battery, met with the first sergeant. You run the battery. I'm the guy that will get the resources we need. If they're not coming normally, I'll make the connection and make sure that we get what we're supposed to get according to what we're supposed to have. And otherwise, we will operate and we'll make this battery the best in the battalion. We started with the command post, and we built a bunker with sandbags on top, sandbags all around. We improved the living quarters of the troops as well. We built a day room. Was the next thing. Once again, it was a low-level thing with sandbags up so direct fire would not hit anybody that was inside of the day room. So I was out there from February through September when we were attacked. An incident occurred that all of our trip flares, that is, had been disconnected. They could have rushed right in and just annihilated us. But when they came for us, we were ready. We were able to defend ourselves quite well. We had only one situation that was caused by friendly fire. When we got word that we were being attacked, the FDC Fire Direction Center shuts down. One of the guys who had just come off R&R the day before, he was a shift leader, he decided he would come back into the Fire Direction Center because he had a key to the gate, so he was able to get through the gate and get to the door. The door was locked, and he's banging on the door, and the chief of fire and battery fired into the door with his M16 and killed him at the door.
A battery was out in a place called Trebong. It was the district capital. I got out to the firing battery, and as soon as I stepped off the helicopter, I met Washington Sanchez and First Sergeant Black. I was then given a tour of the battery, the firing battery. During the tour, and I remember this very clearly, I was told that during an attack, everybody had a place to go and everybody had a place to be. I was also taken to a place called the FDC, which was a building all by itself. It was reinforced with sandbags, and I was told absolutely never go in there during an attack. That particular building was to be defended to the last. About 4 o'clock in the morning, all hell broke loose. Mortars started coming in. With everybody being in their place, we should have come out of that okay. We did lose one guy, James Perkins from Birmingham, Alabama. Instead of going to his position, Mr. Perkins banged on the door to the FDC. There was a soldier in there who panicked and shot through the door, killed Mr. Perkins.
That contributed to my post-traumatic stress disorder in a way that I had no idea about until later in life, after I retired. We survived, and just about every other installation in the area was destroyed. Special Forces camp that was adjacent to us, the Arvin camp, which is the local Vietnamese army, they were destroyed. The district chief headquarters was destroyed, and the district chief and his family was killed. In 1972, I was assigned to Germany. I thought I'd be promoted at any time, and as it turned out, I was promoted while I was there. I was there for 3 years. They sent me back to Fort Sill, Oklahoma. I got assigned in a research and development unit. That's where I got promoted to lieutenant colonel. I got selected to take a battalion command back to Germany. I stayed for 3 years. After 3 years, I was selected to go to the War College level out of Washington, D.C. I got a chance to go back to there, and I had a home there. But the most exciting thing about it was that I ended up getting on the promotion list. I was promoted to full colonel, and I was selected to take command of a Grafenwood training area back in Germany. So that was my third trip to Germany. Probably one of the best assignments I had, because I was able to do the job in an area that I hated during my military time frame. When we went to Grafenwood, that was a really terrible time for the troops. You were in the field all the time, in the cold and the snow. The post itself at Grafenwood was a very good assignment. I used the time to really get a good relationship with all of the mayors, the burgomasters around the Grafenwood training area, which was something that was not done previously by previous commanders. So I used to go to all of their votes fests and all of the events that they had, festival type thing. Germans are good for. So anyway, I ended up retiring in 91, and in 1994, I returned to Florida. I said, I'm going back home to Florida. I volunteered for Bob Pappas, who was running a finance outfit. He wanted to do some veteran type stuff, and so I ended up working with him. We got a state level type of a mission to look into neglected and abandoned cemeteries throughout the state of Florida. And we found just a mess. And the next thing happened is that he got an opportunity to take over a district of the Department of Children and Families down in Fort Lauderdale. So I went down with him. Back in 2001, I ended up getting divorced. My wife, our kids, they're doing very, very well in the Washington, D.C. area. 2 kids that we're very proud of. They're doing what they need to do in life, and they each have 2 kids, a boy and a girl. And then my present wife came along, Gloria, and she was in charge of inspecting units throughout the state of Florida. She came and inspected us and flunked us and said that you guys are not ready. She said, follow the rules, follow the instruction. And so she came back in 3 months and she said, hey, y'all are doing it. I did what she said to do. You know, I like the idea of being a compliant person. In 2004, we were married here in Tallahassee. And she, not being a military spouse, ended up having more interest in military activity or veteran activity than I ever would have believed. When I got to Tallahassee, I learned about the Purple Heart chapter that was here. When I got interested in the Purple Heart, she and I both went to the first department level or state level convention. Working at the state level, she ended up being treasurer at the state level. And from that position, she ended up taking over as the president of the unit, state level unit, and then on to the president of the National Purple Heart Auxiliary. I also had an opportunity to look at the Purple Heart entities where you designate a city, a county, a building, an outfit, a team, or whatever, as a Purple Heart team. So I teamed up with the mayor here. The first thing I did, I said, we have a problem here, is that veterans do not have proper transportation. So let's do bus passes. Let's give them free bus passes. I went back to the mayor and I said, why don't we do a Purple Heart bus? I saw one down in Lakeland. He wrapped his arm around that, so we end up with a bus. People say, there goes the bus, and what they're talking about is the Purple Heart bus. That led to Tallahassee as the first Purple Heart capital city. I ended up started working with the Florida Veterans Foundation at the capital level. I looked at it, at what we were doing, and realized that we have a problem in that we're waiting until these guys are being evicted before we try to help them. And I said we need to get a handle on what is happening to these veterans before they're getting in trouble financially. And so that's the time that I found out that there was something called a stand down. I went out to San Diego where they started the first stand down and stayed out there for 3 days and experienced how they ran a stand down with all of the resources that you put in, both medical, housing, transportation, food service. We've done the stand down here in Tallahassee since 2013. I've run the stand down through the Tallahassee Veteran Legal Collaborative, and now we've organized a new unit called Tallahassee Veteran Outreach. God put you on this earth to be one individual that can help another individual, and another individual to help another individual. And before you know it, if you have leadership position ability, you can lead at the highest level you want to go at. It's the same philosophy. It's getting one person to do what's good for the organization or for the team, again another person, and just continue to do that. You want them to win. You want them to be the best at what they're doing. And if you see where you can remove a stumbling block or give them resources so they can do it, why not? If it's in your means to do that, you shouldn't hold back.
Well, at the firing battery, we had steak one day. They opened up a box of steaks, and there was a homemade grill, and they started cooking steak at the firing battery. And I found out later that Captain Sanchez had gone and personally made a deal with the Seabees to get these stakes out there. This was not a typical or planned event by the Army at all. This was a Washington-Sanchez deal to say thank you guys for another successful month of everybody being safe and the battery completing its mission. He was the finest officer I ever served under. There's no two ways about it. I never felt more comfortable with putting my life in his hands. I'm awfully proud of him, for the work he's done for the veterans. He's took this caring for his men, and after he retired, he just carries on. He's just that kind of guy. And I'm lucky and glad I spotted it way back in 1970.